bring romance to the seven seas.
Oh, we got a bit of romance there, Quartermaster. So,
I could tell ye some stories about romance. A woman in every port.
I've been wanting to know about that, Quartermaster, and I've been wanting to know, what was your first lady loves?
Well, she were a rare lady. Her name was Marion, and she lived in a quiet town in Cornwall called Zenor.
I think I've been to Zenor.
Oh, you may have met Marion, although she
I
maybe...
think I've been there. I got kicked out the pubs in Zenor.
Then pray you never got kicked out of Marion's pub, because you'll never be getting back in. She was a fearsome lady. If ye crossed her, you can never uncross her.
So she was like a landlady then?
She was. She was the landlady of the inn where I supped my first supping.
Back when he was only 13 years old.
Aye. My captain at the time, a fearsome, hardy man called Captain Scarbeard. He took me into the tavern and said, "Young Dan, you be getting your first taste of liquor right here, right now." And he marched to the bar and he thumped his fist down and said, Wench, bring me ale." And the wench turned around and she was no wench at all, but a rare beauty. An angel fallen from the sky. I was flabbergasted. I was love-struck. My eyes turned to hearts in the way that they do in those etchings you sometimes find in the rags they sell in the...
And did your heart leap out of your chest and go boom, 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 boom?
Oh, it did.
Oh.
It did.
Oh, Quartermaster Dan, I live to have those feelings. I live for them, I do. I've never been in love. Tell us more about Marion. Go on.
Well, my heart was going boom, 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 but no one could tell because at the time I often kept a mouse in the other pocket that also wriggled about quite a bit, so it just looked quite normal. No one noticed any difference. So I stepped forward and I said, "Oh, noble, fair barmaid, please, will you serve me my first pint of ale?" And she looked at me, bent down and said, "I'm gonna need to see some ID." Well, I had no ID on me, for I was a foundling child. I never knew who my parents were, so I said, I ain't got no ID. I've only got a thirst for ale, a thirst for adventure, and a thirst for beauty, and you, my fair lady, are quenching the last one of those. And she was very unimpressed at my chat-up lines. She said, "Fine, I'll serve you some ale, but that'll be sixpence."
Aww.
Unfortunately, I'd been saving up, so I was able to pay for me ale. And I said, "And one for yourself." And she said, "I wouldn't touch that muck if you paid."
Oh, Quartermaster Dan, that's the most beautiful romance story I've ever
I know.
heard, that is. That's made my little heart go pitty-pat, 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 pitty-pat. It skipped a beat there, because it skips a beat when it's...
Oh, did it?
Well, it's because the love stories. Love stories makes my heart skip a beat. They do. They do.
Well,
do.
Powder Monkey, maybe you'll have a love story of your own one
Oh,
day.
I hope so, Quartermaster Dan. I'd love to emulate your lifestyle, I would. After you and Mr. Emmer and Captain Allison, I'm always wanting to, I don't got no time for any of that sort of, I get embarrassed around around the pretty people. What about you, Mr. Emmer? What about you? You've ever been in love, Mr. Emmer, sir?
Oh, I don't know if I'd call it being in love, because I don't know, it's very, very subjective feeling in it, being in love. How do you know? How do you tell? But I have some questions for our Quartermaster.
Oh.
I would like to know, what were his 5 worst shut-up lines? Chat-up lines.
My 5 worst shut-up lines?
Shut-up lines, yeah.
Well, I suppose, would you like them in reverse order?
Yes, please. Yes,
Yes,
please.
from the worst to the best.
To the best being the worst best, the best worst ones, as opposed to the worst ones. Because when she says in reverse, and she wants your worst one, but your best worst one last. So your worst one first. So from the worst to the best of your best to your worst, if she's making sense there, Quartermaster Dan. I'll be quiet now, Mr. Emmers. I was just trying to help.
I also would like to point out, Powder Monkey Jody Ann, I sometimes find the whole pirate thing a little bit heteronormative, and I feel like we're a bit funny with our pronouns, our gender pronouns. Mr. Emma would like to be known as they, because of my giant mustache.
Yes, Mr. Emmers, I will do that from now on.
Thank you very much, Powder Monkey Jody Ann.
So, Quartermaster Dan, you're going to tell us about your chat lines?
It is a fine moustache. And coincidentally, what a fine moustache is also one of the worst chat-up lines I've ever had. Because it turned out to not, in fact, be a moustache, but a pet caterpillar. And the lady in question wasn't best pleased at her pet caterpillar being mistaken for a moustache. And so I was very swiftly told to exit the abode that we were in at the time. My 4th worst chat-up line. would...
Wait, Quartermaster Dan, can we please give each of your chat lines a score?
The score that I was scored at the time was a score across the cheek with her dagger, and she also gave me 4 out of 10.
Oh, I was thinking more along the lines of 3 out of 7.
Ah, well, 3 out of 7 is the score that I was given for the next chat-up line, which, of course, I looked deep into her eyes, and I said, would you like to come hunting the whelk with me?
Oh, that's saucy, that is, Quartermaster, and that's saucy. Oh.
Well, she thought it was saucy. She thought I was making an improper suggestion at a nighttime activity. But in fact, at the time, I was serving under Captain Rednose, and we were hunting the giant whelk of Sumatra. But she thought I was being saucy and rude, and my words were laden with innuendo. So she cast me out, gave me a score of 3 out of 7, and told me to be on my way.
But can I just say, Quartermaster Dan, those giant whelks, they go down lovely with a bit of sauce.
Oh, that they do. That
Tasty.
they do. My third worst chat-up line. We had actually been going out for a while. We had been courting, as they used to say, for nigh on 6 months, myself and the lovely Belinda, when I said to her, Belinda, when I first laid eyes upon ye, I felt as if me ship had run aground on a nest of crabs. Well, how was I to know that in fact she was suffering from a nest of crabs at the time? Well, she wanted to know how I'd found out. She said that it was a one-off mistake that had happened with Bosun Bill, and that it would never happen again. And well, that was the end of it. What
was the score she gave you then?
She gave me
crabs.
She did. And she also gave me 2 out of 10,
which
which was hurtful, but more hurtful was the fact that Bosun Bill got 3 out of 10, even though he was the originator of the crabs. So I wasn't happy about that at all.
Nobody wants second-hand crabs, Quartermaster Dan.
No. The next chat-off line, I remember it as if it were yesterday, because it was. Yesterday, I was scrubbing down the poop deck, when a young lady came up to me. She was the daughter of the governor of the town where we're currently moored, and she said, "Fine Quartermaster, what is it you do here?" And I said, well, I'm just cleaning the poop. And she didn't like that.
Oh, I remembers now. She ran from the ship, she did, Quartermaster. I saw her, Mr. Emmer, I did. She ran from the ship so fast going, my God, I never been so insulted all my life. That's what she said she did.
Yeah, now I know what you're about to say. That's not really a chat-up line. And you'd be right. The failed chat-up line was what I called after her, because she was a fair lass. So I called after her, come back, and I'll show you a gleaming poop you can be proud of. Well, she ran all the faster. And I only received a letter today saying that my score for that was 1 out of 52. That is harsh.
Oh, that's harsh, that is.
That's
well harsh. That's like 1 week out of the year, really, isn't it?
Maybe it was a really good week, though, but
Could be like a nice spring week when, the sun's out and the water's
the kind
fine.
you remember for a while.
Maybe it's like
you're in a
1
nice
out of
week.
52, but maybe it was our favourite week of the year.
Oh, that'd be nice.
That reminds me of the oldie saying, you can't polish a turd, but you can cover it in glitter. Even though, obviously, as a well-established pirate, I know that the poop deck is not to do with the faces, but I'm not sure why it's called poop.
I know that glitters ain't gold either. That's another point of what you're saying there, because you cover it in glitter to make the fools gold, to give, someone else to think that that's your treasure that they're stealing, but it's not actually your treasure that they're stealing. They're stealing something else, far more personals, whilst you get away with it.
Wise words. But that brings me to the worst chat-up line I have ever offered. And this takes me back to when I was training to be a quartermaster. And there were 2 of us in the running. There was myself and there was a young lad called Graham. And Graham, he was a handsome cove and no mistake. Why, I can still smell the oil with which he slit back his hair, and I can still see the gleam on his one gold tooth every time I close my eyes. well, Graham and I were, as I say, in competition to be the quartermaster on the ship that we were sailing upon at the time, the Saucy Knave. And the quartermaster of the Saucy Knave, well, whoever was appointed quartermaster was bestowed upon with the golden telescope. And, well, we'd sat our quartermaster exams, and the moment had come when it would be announced who would be the quartermaster, and I knew in my heart of hearts that Graham, beautiful, fine, strapping Graham, he was worthy of that title. And so I turned to him and I said, even if the decision is made to give it to me, my telescope will always be truly yours. And I'll tell you something, I wasn't talking about the actual telescope. Well,
I'm so moved.
I'm glad you're moved, because he wasn't.
I don't understand why he wasn't moved to tears and didn't hug you right there on the deck. Because I think I'm going to use that chat line next time I'm out and about.
Well, it was a different time back then. Crews weren't as enlightened back then as they are today, and there was a strained atmosphere. And the score that I was given was in fact top marks in the quartermaster exam. And I was appointed quartermaster, but before I could refuse the offering and offer the telescope to Graham, I received word that he had handed in his resignation and had transferred to another ship, and I never saw him again.
That's a really beautiful story what you've told us there, Quartermaster Dan. If we could reunite you with your Graham, I would be so happy to do that for you.
Quartermaster Dan, yeah, that would be a very tragic story where you won the prize, but it wasn't really the prize. You lost in love.
Aye, and that is a lesson for us all, that we may have all the riches and rewards and fame and fortune that we think we want, but love is the real treasure.